if you want to have a great career in the digital age, there are three meta skills that every business leader needs to know. So, what are meta skills? So, basically, meta skills are skills that underlie everything, and they are the ultimate transferable skills. So, they're going to be useful for you whether you are working at Meta. They are going to be useful for you if you're working in an accounting firm. They're going to be useful for you if you're working as, I don't know, a marketer or a lawyer. So these are underlying skills that basically a business professional needs. So what are these skills? Skill number one is communications. You need to have your ideas remembered. You need to be able to communicate clearly. So let me tell you a story about my wonderful friend, Steve. Steve is a developer, and when I first met him, he was writing code in a hedge fund. But Steve had bigger ambitions than that. And although that's a pretty good start, right? So what Steve wanted to do is he actually wanted to have influence within the organization beyond just writing code. So he decided to learn public speaking. And you know what? At first, he was really nervous because he's really comfortable with bits and bytes and numbers. And all of a sudden, he was going to get in front of a bunch of people and give them a talk and try to explain something to a bunch of strangers. So he was nervous, but he persevered, he went ahead. And Steve today, so this was about 10 years ago when he did this. So we caught up recently, and he told me that he's now working in a different fund. He is a developer, he's a much more senior developer. But this kind of skill really helps him be as a leader. It really helps him be a leader. And also, it helps him be a recognized expert within his organization. So he was telling me how he was recently teaching a class of developers. He was teaching them some software innovation skills. And what does that give Steve? That basically means that all of those young developers are super loyal to him. They're like his own little private army. And listen, every executive wants to have their own private army. So if you can use your communication skills to get that, awesome. It also means that he is the recognized expert on a particular topic. Maybe there is another developer who is better at that particular area of technology. But if nobody knows them, well, it's kind of irrelevant. And also, this is the kind of meta skill that means that if Steve decides to leave that fund and go and be a developer somewhere else, it's going to be very, very easy for him because his reputation goes far beyond just what he literally just does in terms of writing code. So communication skills is a really, really good one. Whether you're a technical person or a non-technical person, sort that out. Number two meta skill is, darling, you've got to learn to speak tech. What does that mean? It does not mean that you need to become a Steve and that you need to become a developer. I'm not a developer, and not only do I speak tech, I teach people how to speak tech. So what does that mean? It basically means that you know how to speak to a developer because you have a general understanding of what they do. You understand what is the process of design in technology because design is not about pretty logos and beautiful things. Design is a thoughtful process, and it is super important in technology. You need to understand what that is. You need to understand, how do you work with a data scientist? Any successful company now is going to be really interested in mining their data and figuring out what patterns they see in that data so they can be more successful. So if you work in a successful company, or if you're planning to work in a successful company, then data scientists are going to be really important. You don't know what on earth they do and you're terrified of them, your career is always going to be a bit stunted. So this is what speaking tech means. This is what we teach at Tech for Non-Techies. This is what you can learn on the fabulous and top-rated Tech for Non-Techies podcast. So listen to it if you haven't yet. And also you can get a bunch of lessons on the YouTube channel. So learn to speak tech. It is a meta skill. I don't care what you do. It is up there with communications. Every single professional, if you want to be successful, you've got to be a good communicator. And every single professional, if you want to be successful, you also need to learn to speak tech. Most of you, I bet, are not doing the second. Although I bet a few of you have done the first. So if you haven't yet done the second, Tech for Non-Techies is what you need. There's another skill The meta skill number 3 is finance. This is sort of like speaking tech because you do not need a CFA to speak finance. You do not need to become an accountant. What you need to understand is basic financial statements. So do you know what a balance sheet is? Do you know what a profit and loss statement is? So literally this morning, I had a call with my accountant because they sent me my company accounts, and there were some questions that I heard about how they put together the balance sheet because I wasn't sure. I didn't think that I agreed with how they presented something. And so we got on the call, we literally went through how they did these calculations, and I'm going to review it and sign them off later. And so in this, I am the person who hired the accountants. I gave them the instructions. They then put together the financial statements, but I have enough knowledge to look at them, and I have enough knowledge to say, hey, I'm not sure if I agree with this. Can you run me through your thinking? They're still the expert, but I'm the boss. And this is what you need to do. Like, yes, of course, I'm an entrepreneur, so I look at my own company's accounts. But you know what else I look at? I look at companies when I work with investors. So we literally will look at a company's financial statement to see whether they are a good investment proposition. So you are going to be either investing in tech, or you are going to be just getting to the top of the corporate hierarchy. You're going to make investment decisions. So you are going to need to understand what a financial statement is. You're going to understand, you're going to need to be able to speak to a finance professional. So let us imagine that you want to be a CEO in a really big company. So this is possible. It is a hard journey, but certainly doable. I know several people who've done it, and they work hard, but they also really, really enjoy the fruits of their labor. So what do those people need? They need to be really good communicators, because you are not going to get to the C-suite if nobody knows who you are. And if you do start speaking to them, if you start speaking and nobody understands what you're talking about, people are not going to want to promote you. So if you want to get to the C-suite, communication is key. If you want to get to the C-suite of any company, I do not care even if it is a law firm, you need to learn to speak tech, because digital transformation is everywhere. Your coffee shop has an app, people. If your coffee shop has an app, every single company of any worth now has technology as a major component. So you need to learn to speak tech. That's your second meta skill. Your third one is, if you want to be in the C-suite of a major company, you need to understand what the chief financial officer is talking about. You need to understand, okay, how much money are we making? What are we doing with debt? What are the equity markets saying to us? If what I've just told you makes no sense to you, you got to sort that out. And there are plenty, I don't teach that. I have an MBA from Chicago Booth, so I know that. I worked in a private equity firm, so I learned it the hard way. You do not need to go to the depth that I did. And this is not what we teach at Tech for Non-Techies. But if you've never learned any basic financial skills, then there are lots and lots of courses on finance for non-financial professionals that are pretty good. So you could literally do like a day workshop and then listen to some podcasts, read the finance section of The Economist, and definitely hone that skill. So your 3 meta skills: communications, speaking tech, and finance. You're welcome.